Good morning, Kasturians, and welcome to video 1 of chapter 12 History, the National Movement Second Phase. In this, we will study about Mahatma Gandhi and we will see how the national movement came to be known as the Gandhian era. So let's start. The chapter begins with an incident as quoted by Gopal Krishna Gokhale, in which Gandhiji was thrown out of the first class compartment when he was in South Africa. This incident made Gandhiji not to be recognized as a barrister but as a revolutionary, where he successfully fought against the racial discrimination which was going on in South Africa. Gandhiji arrived India on 9th January 1915, and after this a new phase, a new era, that is the Gandhian era, started in the national struggle. Gandhiji was born on 2nd of October 1869 at Porbandar. After getting his early education in India, he went to study law in England, and thereafter he went to South Africa to practice as a contract for 2 years, which was mandatory for one to become a barrister. There he fought the practice of racial discrimination, and ultimately during this struggle he evolved the ideology or concept of satyagraha and non-violence. Satyagraha, that is a non-violent struggle against oppression, which is none other than let the truth triumph. Gandhiji returned to India on 9th January 1915, as I told you earlier, and he travelled across the country to know the real conditions of the country on advice of his political guru Gopal Krishna Gokhale, and he came to a conclusion that the achievement of independence was not the only thing which is needed. He also came to know that the nationwide struggle can be made only when the people of the lower caste are to be included in the mainstream struggle. Also, the untouchability should be removed, and that's why he called the untouchables as the Harijans, or the people of God. He also founded Sabarmati Ashram near Ahmedabad, where people belonging to all caste and religion were welcomed. He also worked to revive the village crafts which were ruined by the British trading policies, and he also popularized charkha and khadi. Gandhiji was not only a political activist, in fact he was a social reformer also, and in his political struggles and campaigns he adopted a method which the even common people can follow, and these methods were so effective that the Britishers, they have no answer for these. The very first moment after coming to India, he led for the indigo planters in Champaran. That was in 1917, when the peasants or the agricultural workers who were working in the indigo plantations, they were forced to sell the indigo at the prices which were fixed by European planters. Gandhiji protested against this, and he forced the government to step down and increase the prices at which the planters bought indigo from the cultivators. Followed by this, in 1918, Gandhiji led a struggle in favor of the textile workers who were working in the textile mills in Ahmedabad against the mill owners, and the mill owners were to raise the wages of the workers. And in the same year, that is in 1918, Gandhiji fought a successful fight in favor of the peasants of Kaira, which is now known as Kheda district in Gujarat. So here he led a successful agitation and he forced the government to suspend the tax collection due to failure of crops in that year. These three successful movements fought at the local level by Gandhiji established Gandhiji as the most popular leader in India, and it was by 1919, and he became involved in the national movement due to this. Numerous mass movements were started by Gandhiji, and in these movements he led activities like peaceful demonstrations, boycott of courts and educational institutions. He also persuaded people to defy the laws but peacefully. Also, he urged the people for non-paying the taxes imposed by the British government, and he also urged people to picket shops who were involved in sale and purchase of foreign goods. That was boycott movement. After the First World War, the Government of India Act of 1919 was passed, and this act was proposed by Sir Montagu and Chelmsford. Therefore, this Act of India of 1919 came to be known as Montagu-Chelmsford reforms, and the main features of these were: the Central Legislative Council was made bicameral, that is, two houses will be there, the Imperial Legislative Assembly and the Council of States. Like in India, we have bicameral legislature comprising of the central government, that is for Lok Sabha, and the Rajya Sabha. In the same manner, the Imperial Legislative Assembly and the Council of States was to be constituted, and the elected members were now formed the majority in both the houses, and the powers of the houses were remained as it is. The diarchy or dual system was introduced in the provinces, that is, the state subjects or the important matters were to be divided into two, that is, the reserved and transferred. Important subjects like finance and police were put in the reserved list, and which were under the direct control of the governor and his council. And less important subjects, according to British, like education and public health, were the responsibility of ministers, who were ultimately responsible to the legislature. So in a way, although the British, they showed that they have divided the powers, but the real power remained within the hands of the British officials. This act disappointed the Indians, and the protests, nationwide protests, broke out, and in March 1919, added to it, the Rowlatt Act was passed by the government, according to which any political prisoner can be arrested without a warrant and can be imprisoned for 2 years without any trial. This Rowlatt Act further roused public anger, and mass demonstrations increased, and a countrywide protest was organized on 6th of April 1919, which was observed as the National Humiliation Day. That's all we have in this video. In the next video, we will discuss about the Jallianwala Bagh massacre, the Khilafat movement, and the non-cooperation movement. Thank you and have a nice day.